is Ash Duran. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you're new. Today, we're going to be going over some of my highly rated books of the year so far, and maybe a couple from last year. We'll see. Let's, let's start off with, had to break because we got a dust storm warning. I live in Chicago. We don't get those. We're in the end times, my friends. Anyway, let's start off with Stone Blind by Natalie Haynes, which I have rated as like a 4.5 or 4 out of 5 stars. On Goodreads, it's sitting at a 3.79 out of 5, which shocks me truly. I listened to the audiobook and mwah, phenomenal job. And I do believe that the author is the one who read the audiobook. So great job. Great job to her. Maybe if she ever wants to do side work, she can narrate some audiobooks because she did a great job. She moved me, honestly. So Stone Blind is a mythological retelling of the story of Medusa and Percy or Perseus. And yeah, basically it tells the story of a young Gorgon girl named Medusa. She is dropped off on her sister's doorstep, proverbial doorstep. Yeah, by her parents. They don't raise her. Nope. Her mother is a lesser, or it's her father. Her mother is a lesser sea god, and her father and mother is another like lesser creature. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. But yeah. So her sisters are Gorgons, and they look kind of scary if you're a regular person. They're just people too, but yeah, they have talons, wings, snakes for hair. Very intimidating if you look at them if you're just a normal Joe. So Medusa doesn't have that. She just has wings, but she looks like a normal person and she's a baby and she grows to be a person, a teenager. Her sisters don't age though. They are immortal, but not Medusa. She needs food, she needs um, warmth from a fire. So she lives in a cave while her sisters just perch around, I suppose. Um, while she's growing up, she catches the uh, unfortunate attention of the creep god Poseidon. And all the gods in this story are not that great. They're actually pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. They live for themselves and they do whatever pleases them. They don't care about humans because they're just a speck in time, whereas the gods are immortal. They're forever. So they'll do whatever they want to do. Poseidon has his grubby little eyes on our girl Medusa, and unfortunately, this is a trigger warning. There is a mention of SA and R, nothing too explicit, but if this is something that you do not want to hear, then skip to the timestamp that I'm going to insert now. Wants to go see what the humans are doing. They've been building this temple and she wants to go see it. And so she goes, and that's where he corners her, and he has his way with her. He SAs and R words her. There's nothing she can do against it. He's a god, and he's one of the big three gods, so he has so much power. And she's just a mortal Gorgon girl, and so that happens to her. She goes home. She doesn't tell her sisters, and they do end up finding out. And Athena, freaking Athena, it was her temple that was, I suppose, desecrated by Poseidon, but instead of taking it out on Poseidon, she takes it out on the victim. She takes it out on Medusa, and she curses Medusa to look like her sisters, but not just that. She takes it a step further and curses her with stone sight. So whenever she makes eye contact with a living creature or being, they turn into stone. She sequesters herself in her cave and she doesn't even want to look her sisters in the eye because she doesn't want to turn them into stone. You know, sisters, you don't want to do that to each other. They think that she wouldn't hurt them, but it's not a matter of her hurting them on purpose. It's just what she was cursed with. So, yeah, so this is her story. And you also have another point of view from Percy or Perseus. We're going to call him Percy. Percy is a bastard child of Zeus. He has so many of them around. He just seduces anyone that he can. And Percy is given the quest by Athena to get the head of Medusa, but he already needed to get a head of a Gorgon because he wants to save his mother from a forced marriage. And the king said, "Hey, if you bring me a head of a Gorgon, you can have your mom. I won't marry her." So two birds, one stone. Athena thinks. So she sets him off on his quest. I won't go too much into it. I will say it is just a great story. It's beautiful in some parts. It's so well written, so well written. That's why I'm so shocked it only has a 3.79 rating on Goodreads. It deserves at least a 4.2, I think. It's phenomenal. The only thing I will say is that I didn't really like Medusa's point of view chapters. It wasn't necessary. We get a lot of her story from Percy. She's with him. She sets him on a quest. We don't need much more from her until the end. The end, the last Athena chapter, chef's kiss, amazing. I think it's one of the strongest endings to a story that I've read in a while. It was just phenomenal. Natalie Haynes knew what she was doing, and she get the audiobook. It was fantastic. I'm telling you, fantastic. So yeah, the story hits all of the marks. It hits you like with sadness, with anger, grief. Give it a 4.5 out of 5. The audiobook gets a 10 out of 10. It's currently on Kindle Unlimited for $0. So if you have KU, I highly suggest picking it up. Give it a chance. It's really good, I promise you. There's a scene. Oh my god, the ending scene is just phenomenal. I love it. I love it. You need to read it. You know what? I might bump no, because Athena really ruined it, so I can't bump it up to a 5. Next book. So the next book I want to talk about is The Curse of the Forest Women by Angelica Lopez and translated by Zoe Perry. It's sitting at a 3.98 on Goodreads. I personally gave it a 4, so that's close enough, I suppose. But The Curse of the Forest Women follows a family of lace makers in Brazil. They were cursed. They were cursed because of a man who couldn't keep his sights on one woman, or he has a situationship with a traveler woman, and he ends up getting her pregnant. And when she tells him he wants nothing to do with this baby, okay, he's already betrothed to another, to a woman who is seemingly innocent. She has no idea what this man is capable of. She's just marrying who she's told to marry. And yeah, the traveler woman is ousted from the village by the man and his family. Like they send him on their way. She comes back and on his wedding day, and she curses the family. She says that she lost her baby and it would have been a boy. And because of that, she'll curse all of the men in the Flores line, and they are cursed. Every single man that marries into the family or is born into the family doesn't live long. They do not die of old age. Some accident happens, they get sick, something happens, and they die. So because of this, the Flores girls aren't exactly the first pick for courting. They don't get um, chaperones because they don't have to worry about them, honestly. Anyway, these women learned how to make lace, and so that's how they make their money. Since they have like no men in their family, they had to find a trade that they can do, and that was acceptable in the time. You can't just have these women farming or doing manly jobs. You know what I mean? So they're lace makers, and they are very, very talented. Anyway, in this story, we do have a character that goes through an arranged marriage, and our main character, Eugenia, wants to help her friend who is put in an arranged marriage, and she has to marry a military man. He's high ranking, so it's seen as an honor. And the girl that has to marry him is the daughter of the local police chief. Anyway, it's a story. I don't want to reveal too much, but it's a story of friendship and trying to help in secrecy, trying to help her escape, and familial trauma and toxicity that's passed down, and the lack of communication plays a big role in here. Saddens my heart because of women not having a fair lot in life. They are very much told what to do in the story and can't make choices for themselves. And if they do, they get ostracized or, worse. A frustrating story. The only thing I will say is that I didn't appreciate the time jumps. So you go from Eugenia to in the past to the present with Alice. I didn't really care for Alice's story. I mean, it wraps up, it comes full circle in the end, but I just didn't really care for her story. I would have preferred to stay in the past and probably come back in the end and see that the generational traumas are cleared. But that's just not what we have. So that's why it's a 4 instead of a 5. But yeah, so that is The Curse of the Flores Woman. We're going to talk about is Sunrise and the Reaping, which is a 5-star for me, and it is a prequel in the Hunger Games story. If you haven't heard of it, which I doubt it, but if you haven't, the story's main character is Hamish Abernathy, which, if you know anything about the Hunger Games, which if you don't watch this. He is the mentor for Katniss and Peeta in the 74th Hunger Games. And yeah, this is when he gets reaped in the 50th quarter quell. And the 50th quarter quell is that, like, the special thing about it is that double of the names will be reaped. So double the amount of boys and girls will be entered into this year's reaping. He is actually illegally reaped, which we don't know that because of all the propaganda and the image that Snow wants to portray. So yeah, so he gets reaped in, and it wasn't even supposed to be him, poor guy, but he gets in. It's him and a girl that he sees as kind of like his sister. She gets reaped. A girl that's pretty stuck up. She gets reaped in, and a boy who is an odds maker. They bet on the Hunger Games, and they do statistics on who they think is going to win, and so they're not very liked in the district, but they're all entered. And I won't reveal too much, but I will say that it deals a lot with propaganda and the way that the government changes things and twists things to be the way that they want to be perceived. There's a lot of things that we don't know that actually happen because the version that Katniss saw was the filtered version. So they played the story that they wanted to play. And unfortunately, it didn't pan out so well for Haymitch. So you do get that. You get some characters from the Hunger Games that repop up. There was a lot of fan service in this book, but I liked it personally since I read all the other books besides Songbirds and Snakes, which I think you're supposed to read Songbirds and Snakes first to understand some of the themes. But I didn't because I was going to read Songbirds and Snakes, but then Sunrise on the Reaping came out, and I really love Haymitch, so I dropped it like hotcakes. But now I just have a bone to pick with Snow even more than I did after reading The Hunger Games. I don't even think if I can finish Songbirds and Snakes because is a main character, and I don't want to hear from him. I don't care about that man's backstory. He's evil. He is pure evil. He's worse than Voldemort, and that's insane. But I think he's worse. He might even be Umbridge. Anyway, Sunrise and the Reaping, 5 out of 5 stars for me. It was heart wrenching. It was sad. It was tragic, and it was eye opening. And now that I know what happened, I just sympathize so much more with Haymitch, and I just want to hug him. I just want to hug him. And I love this book like all fire. I'll leave it there. The next book I want to talk about is called Jezebel, and it's by Megan Barnard. I would rate this one a 4 star out of 5. On Goodreads, it's sitting at 3.96 stars, which pretty accurate for how I feel. Yeah, so Jezebel retells the story of the Princess of Tyre, and she is married off to the prince in Israel. She grew up in Tyre, and it was a very prosperous country thanks to like her father, and she romanticizes it a lot. You know, it's where she's from, it's where she always wanted to be, and she wanted to be a king, but she was told, "No, you're a woman. You're gonna have to just settle to be a king's wife." And she didn't like that. And she didn't want to get married, but her father forced it on her because they wanted an allegiance with Israel. So she's married off, and she wants to make the best of a sour situation, and she says that she's going to be remembered for her greatness. And so she really fights for Israel to become prosperous like Tyre. She brings temples and her gods over. It's Yahweh. So that is the particular god that she follows. And there's another god, there's a prophet for another god that they follow there in Israel. And so there's that clash of beliefs, but she thinks that why can't we have both of them or all of them? So she builds a bunch of temples throughout Israel with the permission of her husband, of course. And she spins it that this is going to be great for them. And you know what? It is. Israel becomes prosperous and it's amazing until it's not. Until a scorned lover, Elijah, who was all for Jezebel when he was, I forgot to mention this, he was the scribe of the king of Israel or the prince of Israel. He wants to run away with Jezebel because he's in love and she loves him too, but she wants power. She wants to be remembered. She wants to be great. And he wants to run off and, or be like poor, basically, compared to where she is now. Why would she take that offer, Elijah? Why? Why? And it makes no sense, honestly. But he's scorned. So he leaves and he comes back after years and he is just trying to tarnish her character, bring her down, make the people hate her. And he does a great job. I mean, he says that she's a harlot and everyone listens. He says that she's a witch. Everyone listens. Doesn't matter all the things that she did. They associate all of that with her husband and not her. She's tossed to the side basically. She refuses to let go of the power and she fights him as long as she can. I won't get into many more details than that, but it is a tragic tale and it's full of feminine rage. And oh, I was so angry reading this book. And Jezebel is a very flawed character. She's very ambitious and very self serving in a sense, so that it kind of tarnishes her character and it makes her not that likable. But it's a phenomenal story and phenomenal storytelling. The only thing I will say is that if you don't really like to listen about religion and spirituality, this book won't be for you because they mention God and gods a lot, a lot. Yeah, so if that's not your cup of tea, I would skip this one. But honestly, great book for 4 to 4.5 stars. So that is Jezebel by Megan Barnard. And also, the audiobook is phenomenal. 10 out of 10 stars, honestly. The next book I want to talk about is The Song of Achilles. The Song of Achilles is by Madeline Miller, and it is a retelling of the story of Achilles. But the main character isn't Achilles himself, but Patroclus, his lover. The only thing I knew about Achilles came from the movie Troy, and Patroclus was his cousin there. So it was a bit jarring in the beginning. I was like, wait a minute, you're cousins. No, we don't kiss our cousins here. This isn't Mississippi. Just kidding. Just kidding if you're from Mississippi. But yeah, that was a bit jarring, but as I got over it, Achilles is a son of the water goddess Thetis and the king Peleus. Anyway, he's sent to like this school for wayward youths is the only thing I can say, like compare it to. Patroclus is sent there because he had like a very violent outburst, and so they sent him there. It's like a wayward camp for kings to be trained and learn how to be a king, I guess, I suppose. I don't know, learn discipline. That's where they meet Achilles and Patroclus, and they start a romance. It was a friendship that led to more. It drags a bit, honestly. Like 3/4 of it is just their like relationship and exploring the relationship, but then being trained by Chiron, the centaur. Um, and he teaches Achilles how to battle and stuff. They're trying. Helen of Sparta becomes Helen of Troy, so they got to go to war over a woman, over stealing a woman. Achilles goes into hiding because he doesn't want to go to war. He doesn't want to do it. He wants to stay there, and he's still fairly young. So they try to hide, but eventually they get discovered. But not before Achilles gets the daughter of a king pregnant, the one that was hiding him, gets her pregnant, and he gets sent off to war. But he does take the child as his own, like by name. He gets sent off to war, and it was foretold that he would not come back if he were to sail to Troy, but he would be remembered for like 10,000 years. He goes, and Patroclus follows because that is his boo, and he wants to be there for him. This is where the story picks up. I absolutely loved this section of the book, like them setting off to war and dealing with just strife within the relationship and their beliefs. And glory in war, is it really glorious? Yeah. the themes in it are just so beautifully explored, and it was just frustrating at the end, and that's how it's supposed to be. I love the character Perseus. I loved Patroclus's relationship with the women in the camp, in their war camp. It was just phenomenal. And Achilles is a very great character. You know, he's very self-serving and at times gets in his own way. He loves Patroclus, but does he love the thought of glory more? So 4 stars out of 5, just because I did feel like it dragged on a bit, but it was amazing. And then the ending, the ending, phenomenal, phenomenal. Up next, we have A Song to Drown Rivers. Loved this book. On Goodreads, it's sitting at a 3.88 star rating, which is crazy. I rated it a 5. In this story, you're following a girl named Jishi. I apologize if I'm not saying that correctly, but she is a beautiful girl, one of the most beautiful women in her village, and she is a silk maker. I think like her mom is a silk maker, and she washes the silk, like that's her job. And one day, she sticks up for this girl and gets herself in trouble. But long story short, she gets enlisted to be sent to the king of Wu, the kingdom of Wu, to become a concubine for the king. But she's not just going to be a concubine. She's going to be undercover and try to dismantle this kingdom. She is from Yu or Yue. I'm sorry, I don't know which one is pronounced, and they were brutally ransacked and beaten and hurt by the Wu. So she's all for it, you know. She's like, sign me up. All right, I'll do it. Her and another girl in her village are enlisted in this, but only one of them will be the actual concubine, and it ends up being Jishi. She is marvelous. She is trained by Fan Li, which is the man who protects her and saves her at the river when she steps up for another girl that was about to be beat by a Wu officer. But yeah, he works for the Yu, but they're under the Wu kingdom. Does that make sense? Anyway, he is part of the rebellion and they want to dismantle this place. But along the way, there is a slow burn romance. And this story is just so refreshing because I've come from all of this romantasy. And so there's so much spice nowadays. It's like the authors are competing with each other to see who can add the most spicy scenes, the most smut. And it's getting kind of tired, honestly. So this was a breath of fresh air when I read it. It was just amazing. Slow burn, delicate romance, just everything you want, everything you want. And this is a retelling of one of the four beauties of ancient China. And I have no idea. I've never heard any of the stories about the beauties of ancient China. So I had no idea where the story was going, which I loved, 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 loved. So yeah, she has to manipulate the king and become his favorite so that she can help the rebellion. She has a competition because there's like upwards of 12 other concubines, and you have to get his attention some way. And she doesn't want to, have to give herself to him, if you catch my meaning, whereas other concubines are. So yeah, she has to play the game and play. There's a political figure that does not trust her at all because she comes from the Yu kingdom, and he has his eye on her. So she has to deal with that aspect of not catching his attention too much and being able to laugh it off. She is a phenomenal actress and she hides her emotions very well, even though she's disgusted with this man. But you spend more time with the enemy, with the devil, and you realize he's not someone so different. And maybe he's not this evil person I think he is, because people there too. So the Wu think the Yu or the Yue are evil, and vice versa. It just depends where you're standing. So you have to deal with the ugly truth that maybe both kingdoms are just not that great. So yeah, but it is an incredible story. It's I think it's adequately paced. I didn't have a problem with it. Some would think it's like too slow paced, but I enjoyed it. Um, yeah, it's a heartbreaking, heart-wrenching tale, and I think you should read it. It's a 5 for me. It's amazing. I promise you. You're gonna love it. And if you don't, I'm sorry. Well, that is it from me today. Have you read any of these books? If you have, let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you can get notified every time I upload. And that is The Train. It's a paid actor, I promise. All right, bye. Town. I think I smell the dirt in the air. Yep. I have to close my windows.